Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Vale of White Horse series. This is a district of Oxfordshire and there is a famous white horse here, hence the name. Will we be seeing it today? Let's see. Welcome back to the Vale of White Horse for round 2. Now, last time out we saw Shrivenham. This time we're seeing a place that's a lot smaller. But there are quite a few landmarks here. It's still a very historic place, this. One of these landmarks is a school called Pinewood, which we'll be talking a lot about in this episode. Welcome to Borton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to Borton, a small village in the Vale of White Horse which is linked to Shrivenham, the village we covered last week. Here we're about 4 miles southeast of Highworth in Wiltshire. Unlike other nearby villages, particularly those to the south, there are no chalk or thatched cottages here. Instead, the cottages are built in the local grey stone, most with slate or stone roofs. Beginning life as part of the manor of Shrivenham, Borton's name has evolved from what was once Burghton in the 14th century. It's also been recorded as Burton and as Borton, spelt without the U. Perhaps the most important family in Borton were the Tuckers. It was they who endowed Borton Village School, established 6 almshouses and contributed to a rebuild of the parish church. It's thought that Borton was originally located to the north of where it currently is, in the area now known as Lower Borton. That's where you'll find the house where the Tucker family once lived. Borton was part of the parish of Shrivenham until 1867 and was part of Berkshire until the 1974 local government boundary changes transferred it to the Vale of White Horse in Oxfordshire. Borton is known for a structure called the Pin, Borton House, which is now the location of Pinewood School, a former wharf and a bridge which used to cross a canal. And it's all surrounded by a gentle vale with some nice views. Let's go and see it, shall we? We begin our route on the hill, and yes, it is a hill, albeit not a very steep one. For the most part, Borton is fairly flat, with a few gentle inclines here and there. Our first landmark is the former village school. Originally built in 1842 by the Tucker family, it was later extended with the addition of a second classroom. It's now a private residence. Heading into the village centre, we pass a bench which says Bourton Festival 1997. I wonder if that's still a thing almost 30 years on. Next is the old red phone box, which is the village book exchange. This is sited close to the central village green at the top of the hill. The green has the remains of a 14th century stone cross standing on 3 square steps. It's known as the Pin. It's believed to be a market cross, but there is a theory that it was built by the Danes to commemorate victory in a battle with the Saxons. There's also the remnants of a small village pump here as well. Okay, Nikki's found the notice board, and I assume a cards are going on this, is it?
Certainly is.
Oh, it certainly is. There we go. 2 down in the Vale of White Horse. Lots still to go. Anything of interest on this board?
Well, it tells us here that some almshouses in Burton. Burton.
Okay.
So we have to look out for those as we go around.
I wonder if it's these, because these look like almshouses, this row here. If I just go around the corner. If it's not these...
Might be over there.
Might be over there, yeah.
Could be anywhere.
I think it is these, you know. They look very almshousey-ish. That's a very un-English word. We'll soon see what my research told me. These are indeed the almshouses, founded and endowed by John Baker and John Tucker in 1847. As such, they're known as the Baker and Tucker almshouses. On to Silver Street now. Here's the manor house. Most of Borton is part of a conservation area which covers most streets and some of the surrounding fields. The centre of the village has been a conservation area since 1971. In 2011, the boundary was expanded to include more of the village and the surrounding areas. At the end of Silver Street, there's a short path which leads to the Church of St James, a Gothic revival building which was designed by J.W. Hugall. Widely believed to have been built in 1881, some sources reckon it dates from 1860. A low attendance here meant it was declared redundant in 2003. However, it wasn't redundant for long. By early 2004, an increase in parish income led the Diocese of Oxford to rescind the notice, and by June, it had reopened. Okay, we had to kind of fight to get into this one because there's two doors, which are very stiff, and it looks like just like a belfry or something, and you don't actually think that there's a door behind it, but there is. Anyway, we are in, and font.
Norman crosses on it.
Yes. Nice big window above. No stained glass.
Lots of light though coming in.
So
there's stained glass at the far end.
At the far end, yeah, but the fact there's no stained glass in that one means we can see quite clearly. There's three of them. Okay. That'd be nice with the candles lit, wouldn't they?
One memorial roll of remembrance.
Yeah, I'll just go and have a look at that. Roll of honour, roll of service, they call it here. Quite a few names on that. And there's another one there. I imagine one's for one war and one's for the other. Let's head towards the chancel.
When I said stained glass, there's a bit of stained glass edging.
Yep.
Which adds a bit of colour,
I suppose, yeah. Organ on the left. So it's certainly not as big or as detailed as the one in Shrivenham, but it's still...
Nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing wrong with it. It's still pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well maintained as well. I always like to see a church that's well maintained. So yeah, nice little church, this one. Let's move on. Looking just like a house, this is Bourton Working Men's Club. The club was originally started in the Long Room at Pinewood School. During the 1960s, the club was located in a building behind the Old Forge next to the Pin in the centre of the village. In the 1970s, the club was able to expand and move to its current location. At the end of Church Row is a charming Victorian terrace which stands opposite the gates of Pinewood School, and this is where I made a bit of a mistake. This next thing has been blurred out for a reason. I genuinely thought the area I was in here was the village playing field, but it appears it is in fact part of Pinewood School's grounds. By rights, therefore, I shouldn't have been on it. This, though, is the ground used by the Pinewood Extras, a social cricket team made up of parents, staff and alumni from Pinewood School. They play a series of 2020-style cricket games in the summer term against other local schools, clubs and villages. Pinewood School is a co-educational preparatory school founded in 1875. It occupies the grounds of Bourton House, which was built in 1845. The school has been located in several places in its time, but it's been here since 1946, when it purchased Bourton House from the Butler family. If you walk around the outer walls of the school, you'll find yourself on a small lane in front of the village hall. As you can tell by its architecture, this used to be a church. It was formerly Bourton Baptist Church, built in 1851 by Henry Tucker, who lived at Bourton House at the time. Next to it, there's a little path which takes you past a tower. This is the former Borton Water Tower, which, as you might expect, would have supplied Bourton House with water. After passing this, the path crosses the entrance drive to the school and runs off into the countryside. We, though, turned right, walking past the former gate lodge and back to the start. Heading north now, we're passing through the area known as Lower Borton. As you leave, on the left-hand side, you pass a huge mansion called Claycourt Manor. Formerly known as Bourton Grange, it's a Grade II listed manor house dating back to 1847. It was built in Jacobean Dutch style by the Tucker family. Let's leave Borton village behind now and head up to the north of the parish. We're heading for the site of Bourton Wharf, which was on the Wiltshire and Berkshire Canal. Bourton Wharf was built beside the main road, which we're about to come to. The wharf dealt mainly with coal from Somerset and was thriving in the early 1800s. However, with the coming of the railways, trade at Bourton Wharf declined rapidly. It would still handle small amounts of cargo in the mid-1890s, mainly local traffic to or from Melksham or Wantage, but it would eventually close. The canal, as we learned last week, was formally abandoned in 1914. Now, on the subject of the canal, here we have Acorn Bridge, which carries the railway line that we saw in Shrivenham over the A420. Now, as you can see, one side of the road, this side here, passes through that arch, and the other side of the road passes through that arch. But historically, it didn't used to be like that, because one side of the road had the canal passing through it. Let's talk a bit about that. So now we're on the A420, which is the main road between Swindon and Farringdon. Coming from the direction of Bourton Wharf towards Swindon, you'll pass under this bridge. Named Acorn Bridge, it carries the Great Western Main Line, the same line we met in Shrivenham. It's built of brick and is askew. It's a double bridge too, meaning it has two arches. One side of the A420 road passes through one arch, and the other side passes through the other arch. However, the westbound side used to cross the former Wiltshire and Berkshire Canal, the road having been widened and realigned in the 20th century. This configuration was designed to relieve what was a sharp S-bend in the road where it passes under the railway. The westbound carriageway was rerouted through the easterly arch, which was no longer used by the canal, and the westerly arch remained in use by only the eastbound carriageway. and just over Borton's boundaries you end up in Swindon, and we're at a Sainsbury's literally just over the border into Wiltshire, and that is where we're going to start the first episode of the Swindon series, which is coming your way very soon. But as far as the Vale of White Horse goes, that's it for now. We will be coming back at some point in the future, hopefully not too long, because I've enjoyed my time here in Oxfordshire. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the Parish of Borton, and I'm out.